everyone, my name is Amber, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about all of the July book releases that I am most anticipating. So I am by no means trying to read all of these books. These are just ones that I'm really excited about and I thought I would share with you so that I can try to either build some hype for some lesser known books or just share my own excitement because that's why I'm on Booktube. I don't know how many books I have to talk about today, but there are, as always, quite a lot. I try to do these videos monthly, but lately I have been in a bit of a recording slump because things have been really busy, so I didn't do one last month, but I'm hoping to bring these back monthly and maybe adding a little bit of a twist to them as well. But for now, let's get into the July new releases that I'm looking forward to reading at some point, not necessarily in July. I haven't ordered these in any way, so what I think I'm going to do is talk about them from most popular to least popular, and then if you stick around to the end of the video, obviously you will find some books that maybe are underhyped, deserve more hype, or aren't really that talked about at the moment. So let's get started. First of all, I want to talk about One of Us is Back by Karen M. McManus. This is the third book in the One of Us is Lying trilogy. I don't think this was supposed to be a trilogy to begin with, but Karen M. McManus kind of expanded upon it. The first book follows a group of teenagers who are all in detention together, and then one of the teenagers dies mid-detention and the others are all accused and accusing each other, and they're trying to figure out who did it. The second book takes place a few years later, and I'm not sure whereabouts this third book falls, but I'm very much looking forward to it, and I have received a copy from the publisher, so I'm hoping to read it this week. If I'm not in a massive reading slump, we will see. Next we have Hello Stranger. This is by the author of The Bodyguard, which I haven't actually read yet, but it's been on my wish list for ages. It's just so expensive, so I haven't managed to get around to it. All I know about this one is that it's a romance book and the main character has face blindness. I think this is an issue for her because she is an artist who paints portraits, and obviously if you can't see or process faces, then that's going to be a problem. So I'm not sure I'm going to get my hands on this one right away. I think I'll probably read The Bodyguard first, but it does sound quite fun. Then we have Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. This is another Shakespearean retelling. This time it's an adult epic fantasy debut, whereas Chloe Gong's other books have all been YA fantasy. So this one is about Antony and Cleopatra. I think there's some sort of game or tournament going on in this city, and the main characters are rivals and they probably have to come together, just like Mark Antony and Cleopatra, kind of. Next we have The Deep Sky, which I am so excited for. This has been, I think, on my most anticipated releases list since the start of the year. I'm fairly sure I put it on my overall yearly most anticipated list. It's again very expensive as a hardback, and I don't think my library is going to be getting it because it's a US release, but I'm going to get my hands on it maybe for my birthday in November. So this one is a debut book. It's a sci-fi thriller, which I'm really into at the moment, by the way. So this is focused on a mission into deep space, and then there's an explosion which is mostly lethal, but it does leave some survivors, and these survivors are questioning the loyalty of the space crew. I think this sounds so good. I think it's about people who are trying to save the Earth or humanity and environmental collapse and all of that, while also being a thriller set on a spaceship, and I'm so excited to read this one. I did request it from NetGalley, but I didn't get approved yet, but I'm hoping to read this one very soon. I really hope I don't have to wait until November. I might see if I can buy it secondhand. Then we have two sequel releases that I won't be reading, but I wanted to mention here anyway, just in case you guys are interested and you didn't know when the sequel was coming out. First of all, we have A Soul of Ash and Blood by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the fifth book in her Blood and Ash series, which I haven't read yet, but I probably should because I need to recap it for Recaptains at some point. And then we have Lightbringer by Pierce Brown, which is the sixth Red Rising saga book. Again, not reading it. I didn't like the first book, so I'm not going to carry on, but you guys might be interested in it. Then we have Her Little Flowers, which is I think a gothic mystery kind of book. All I know about this one is that it's set in the Lake District in a manor, and I really like the Lake District. I went there last year or the year before maybe on holiday, and I really enjoyed it there, and I can see how the setting would really lend itself to a really good mystery. It says here that Francine's estranged sister Madeline returns to the manor after years away. She brings a story with her that threatens everything Francine has always believed. It's a tale of cruelty and desperation, of terror and unbearable heartache. So I think this sounds really good. And then we have Everyone Here Is Lying by Shari Lapina, whose books I think I've mostly enjoyed. I've read most of her books that she has released, if not all of them. Her later ones have been more misses rather than hits for me, but I'm looking forward to giving this one a go at some point. It says here that the main character is a family man, but he's been having an affair. The affair ends horribly one afternoon. He returns home and finds his 9-year-old daughter at home from school, even though she shouldn't be, and he loses his temper. And then a few hours later, Avery's family declare her missing. I think this sounds really good. It's probably going to be really dark as well because it features a child, a missing child. I'm looking forward to reading it. Again, I might see if I can get it from the library or secondhand or something, because some of Shari Lapina's books haven't really worked for me. But maybe this one will. Business or Pleasure by Rachel Lynn Solomon is also coming out soon. This is about a woman who is a ghostwriter, and she comes across the author who she has been ghostwriting for, and the author doesn't recognise her. She ends up meeting a very charming man at a bar. There's an awkward hookup, and then the two plan to never see each other again, but then the ghostwriter actually has to start writing for this person that she hooked up with, and this person is also an actor, and she is to write his memoir. So I think this sounds ridiculous, and I love the idea, so I'm going to read it. Then there's A Twisted Love Story by Samantha Downing. I have loved all of Samantha Downing's books apart from her latest one, which I only gave 3 stars, but that's still really good. That's an enjoyable book for me. This is the author of My Lovely Wife, which I adored. It says here this is about a couple who are madly in love. When it's good, it's great. There are flowers, grand gestures, deep, meaningful conversations. And when it's bad, it's really bad. Vengeful fights, damaged property, and arrest warrants. I'm not great at reading about domestic abuse in books, so I'm not sure how this one is going to go, but I do really enjoy Samantha Downing's writing most of the time, so I'm going to give this one a go, even though I'm a little bit hesitant. I might wait for a few of my friends to read this one first and see what they think of it, and then I can ask them some questions as well. The St. Ambrose School for Girls is coming out as well. This one is apparently Heathers meets The Secret History. It's set in a boarding school. It's a crime thriller, so I'm probably not going to read any of the synopsis. I'm just quite excited for it. The rating on Goodreads is only 3.29, so that's not amazing, but I like books set in boarding schools, which is why it's on this list. Paul Tremblay has a set of short stories coming out, another one. This collection is called The Beast You Are. I don't like short stories, so I'm probably not going to be reading these, although I do quite like Paul Tremblay's books, so I'm tempted to give it a go, but I'm going to wait for some reviews to come out first. A Good House for Children is coming out as well. This one sounds kind of like a mystery literary sort of thing. It's about a woman called Orla who is a mother and a wife, and her husband called Nick wants to move away from the city into a bigger house. After they move in, Nick is pretty absent. I think he's meant to be working all week, and Orla starts to become very unsettled and starts hearing voices. Her son also acquires an imaginary friend out of the blue, and I think this one sounds really good, very mysterious. I like the sound of, I guess, the atmosphere that the synopsis is giving me, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. The Housekeepers by Alex Hay is coming out as well. This one is set on the night of London's grandest ball. It says that a bold group of women launch a daring revenge heist against Mayfair society in this dazzling historical novel about power, gender and class. I love books or stories about people getting revenge on rich people and kind of doing them over, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. It hasn't had much hype, but it's very, very high on my list. The Sun and the Void is coming out in July. This one hasn't been getting great reviews. It's a fantasy book based on South American folklore. Some of my friends have given it 3 stars. I don't think I've seen anyone rate it really highly, but I'm looking forward to giving it a go anyway. I do have a copy from the publisher, and I'm going to be reading it soon. I think for me, I just really like all the themes that it's dealing with. Feminism, colonialism, ancient magic, all of that stuff. It sounds very intriguing to me, so I am going to read it even though it's not getting the best reviews so far. Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates is also coming out, and it's another one that I did get from the publisher. This one is set in a remote cabin in the snow in the wilderness. There are 8 strangers and 1 killer, and this sounds like everything that I love, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I'm hoping to get to it again this week, but I feel like I'm trying to also cram too much in, so it may be the week after that I eventually get to this one. Call the Canaries Home, which is a book set in Louisiana, and it's about 3 sisters who have become estranged over the years. When the 3 sisters were younger, their 4th sister actually went missing, and so now the 3 sisters are coming back together to remember that sister and to also confront some ghosts from the past. I'm really looking forward to this one. It sounds very intriguing. Role Playing, which is a romance book about a 48-year-old woman who joins an online gaming guild, and I think this one sounds great. It'll be very interesting for me to read some books about older protagonists, particularly romance books, because I don't really read many of those. Most of the romance books I read are about people my age or younger. The Woods Are Waiting. This one is set in the Appalachian Mountains. I still don't know how to say it, but I read a book by Megan Miranda set there in the mountains last year, and I loved it. The setting was fantastic. I started watching a load of travel vlogs about people who are hiking in the mountains, and I have decided it's a setting that I really, really enjoy, and it's a place I would really love to go to. I don't know anything else about this book. I just know that it's set there. It's some sort of thriller. It's a debut book, so I will be reading this very, very soon. I might see if I can get my hands hands on it from NetGalley, but I don't really need more NetGalley books, so maybe I'll just wait to purchase it myself. Camp Damascus, which is, I think, a debut book. It's a horror book, and it's set in a gay conversion camp in the mountains. Again, really enjoy a mountain setting, and I'm very intrigued by horror books at the moment, and I haven't actually read many queer horror books, so I'm looking forward to giving this one a go. I've seen the author talking about this book on Twitter, and it does sound very, very good, so I'm looking forward to giving it a go. All That's Left to Say by Emery Lord. This one says that it's a poignant and powerful story of a grieving girl willing to risk everything. On prom night, she sits in the headmaster's office, soaked to the bone. She's in trouble because she pulled the fire alarm right as the prom was about to be crowned. I guess the prom king and queen were about to be crowned. 1 year ago, her cousin Sophie died of an overdose, but who gave Sophie those pills, and who is refusing to give her family the closure that they deserve? So I think it's going to be about rich people and bullying and grief and all of that good stuff. I'm looking forward to reading this one. It does sound really, really good and a lot darker than Emery Lord's other stuff, or some of her other stuff, so I'm looking forward to giving this a go. Their Vicious Games, which is about a black teenager who needs to regain her Ivy League acceptance, so she enters an elite competition, only to discover that the stakes aren't just high, they're deadly. This has been compared to Ace of Spades and Squid Game, and also The Bachelor. I've read Ace of Spades, I haven't seen Squid Game or The Bachelor, but I kind of understand the vibe that they're going for here. I'm very much looking forward to this one. I really like the cover for this as well, it's very clever. The Saint of Bright Doors is another one that I got from NetGalley, and I haven't read yet, but I am planning to. It says here that it's a high drama of divine revolutionaries and transcendent cults against the mundane struggles of modern life. I don't know what about this one caught my eye, but I am very much looking forward to reading it, and if I enjoy it, I'll probably do a single review for it as well. Darkwater Daughter is about a storm singer and a pirate hunter joining forces against a deathless pirate lord in this adventure on the high seas. I haven't read many pirate books recently since Amina Al-Sarafi, so I feel like I need to get my hands on more. And this is one of them. The Splinter in the Sky, which is a debut space opera book. It's about a tea expert who is taken as a political prisoner, which is something I've not heard of before, or a combination I've not heard of before. And so the main character has to spy on government officials, and she is hoping to gain back her nation's independence. This sounds so good. I love a good space opera. I'm really in this sci-fi mood at the moment, which I'll talk about in another video. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I need to get my hands on it. Another one that I've seen around a bit more recently is the Jasad Heir. This one is a fantasy book. In this one, the kingdom of Jasad burned to the ground 10 years ago, and magic has been outlawed. The royal family has also been murdered down to the last child. Sylvia is this heir, and she never wants to be found. She wants everyone to believe that her family is entirely dead, but because other people are now destroying her kingdom and her magic becomes exposed, she has to fight some sort of rebellion. This is Egyptian inspired, and I love the sound of it, so I'm going to get my hands on this soon. It's got quite good reviews so far, so I have very high hopes. Even though not many people are talking about it, people who are talking about it very highly. The Prince and the Apocalypse, which is, I think, a YA romance contemporary book about an American teen who is stranded in London, and she has to team up with a British crown prince in order to get home before the world ends. And I don't know, that just sounds really dramatic to me, so I like the sound of it. I was talking too much and my camera died, but I think this is about the same position I was in before. Next we have The Sea Elephants. This is a coming of age story set in 1990s India. It's about a young man who joins a travelling theatre troupe. Don't know much else about it. Love the cover though, it looks amazing. Counterweight, which is a book set on a fictional island just off the coast of Korea, and the government is trying to construct an elevator which takes you up into the Earth's orbit. They want this island to become a kind of travel hub, and then people are trying to race up the elevator to gain people's data or a company's data or something. I'm not really sure, but this is a science fiction sort of thriller book, and I love the sound of it. It sounds so good. At the End of Every Day, which is a book about an employee of a theme park who is questioning why a celebrity recently died at the park. This sounds like it will be better than Hyde by Kirsten White, who also recently wrote a theme park themed book. So I have high hopes for this one, even though I didn't enjoy that. The rating for this is very average. It's only 3.15 at the moment, but maybe it will improve. Queen of Exiles, which is about Queen Marie Louise from Haiti, who escaped a coup in Haiti and then set up her own court in Italy. I think think this is fiction, but it's based on a true story and a real person. I think this sounds really good. The main character sounds like a real survivor, and she's someone that I've never heard about. I hope that this book can teach me a little bit about her. And I also need to look her up and see how accurate this book is. Starbringer, which is set in this galaxy, and the sun is dying, so I think it's like a race against the clock sort of story to try and save the sun. Again, I'm loving space opera and sci-fi at the moment, so to me this sounds really good. Ebony Gates, which is apparently a John Wick story set in San Francisco's Chinatown, and it also has dragon magic, so all of those things that sound amazing. Black River, which is a mystery thriller book set in a boarding school in Sydney where a young woman is found dead. I'm not going to read the synopsis for that one because I don't need to know a lot. It'll just spoil me if I do read it. With a Kiss We Die, which is another thriller book. This one it has a podcast element, which I really enjoy, which is why it's on this list. It says here that two college lovers are suspected of a brutal double homicide. They enlist a podcasting true crime journalist to proclaim their innocence. I think this sounds really good. I already don't think they're entirely innocent just from this synopsis, that tiny bit that I have read. So I'm looking forward to finding out whether I am correct. Bonesmith by Nikki Palprato, who is the author of Crown of Feathers, which is a book that I gave 5 stars, but I haven't actually continued with the series yet because I'm really bad at series. But I really enjoyed her writing in that debut, and because this book is obviously no longer a debut, she's written a few more books since then. I think this is going to be amazing. So it says here that it's Gideon the Ninth, which I haven't read, meets the Game of Thrones White Walkers in this dark young adult fantasy about a disgraced ghost-fighting warrior who must journey into a haunted wasteland to rescue a kidnapped prince. And also, I love the cover. It's absolutely stunning. I can't wait to read this. I'm thinking about pre-ordering it, but also I want to finish the Crown of Feathers series first. But I also know that pre-ordering books helps authors. And just bear with me 1 second while I look up a couple of books on NetGalley, because I forgot to do that before I started recording. Okay, so I also wanted to talk about these books because obviously I have them on NetGalley, and so I really want to read them and promote them. First of all, we have Abandoned by Blake Crouch, who wrote Dark Matter and various other books. I'm really looking forward to reading this one because I've enjoyed his sci-fi thrillers before. No idea what this one's about. Something about the mountains, I assume, because the cover looks snowy. So I'm looking forward to that. I also have The Whispers by Ashley Audrain, who wrote The Push, which I really enjoyed. I haven't read the synopsis for this one because I really enjoyed her first book, so I figured why would I read the synopsis of the second before requesting it? It made sense to me. Disobedient, which says it's a gripping feminist retelling of a 17th century heroine forging her own destiny. So this is set in 17th century Rome. I really enjoy historical books, but I've not actually read many books set around this time period in Rome, so I think this is going to be very interesting. And then finally we have The Dive, which is a thriller book, so I didn't actually read all of the synopsis for this one, but the tagline is the guest list meets the beach in this sun-soaked locked room thriller. The main character is a scuba diving instructor. She leads her students out for their first dive in Thailand. It's supposed to be a life-changing experience, but things quickly spiral out of control. One of her students is dead. I love the sound of this. I'm really looking forward to reading it. This is another one that I really want to read this week if I have time. So I need to get stuck in and stop recording and talking and rambling so much. That's it. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below if you're looking forward to any of these books, if you've read any of them already, which ones you're pre-ordering, or which ones you want to get your hands on. If you want me to read and review any of these on my channel in like a solo review, definitely let me know and I can do that for you. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Happy reading, and I'll speak to you all in the next video. Bye!